Welcome to Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks back on X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. My name is Hilary, and this week I'm joined once again by Nick, the co-host of the Radio Meanwhile Network's new show, This Endorian Life.
Hey Hilary, how's it going?
Great, how are you?
I'm excited. I got to tell you, I went back and I listened to the Deadpool episode that you and Eric did a while. I heard it when it first came out.
Oh, yes.
But I wanted to dust up on it a little bit here. And I got to say, you guys were pretty grumpy about Deadpool 1.
I didn't love Deadpool 1.
You didn't? Neither one of you did. You were in perfect harmony.
It wasn't so much a movie as like an extended teenager's YouTube video.
Well, I think that's why it was so popular.
I believe that it was.
I mean, I think the thing with the Deadpool movie was that it like perfectly tapped into like what was going on in that moment.
Sure.
You know? So I think you got to give it credit for that.
Okay. Well, we're not talking about Deadpool 1.
You're right. No.
We're talking about Deadpool 2.
We are.
Which, I will say ahead of the discussion,
Yes.
I did like this much more.
Oh, okay.
But that's all I'll say at this moment.
Okay. So what was your mindset going into this? Were you dreading
I
watching
have been
this?
told
Okay.
and told and told. So this is the first time that I have seen this movie.
Oh.
Now, in 2021.
Just for this episode? Like
Just for this episode. I've never seen this movie before.
Has that ever happened before on an X-Men episode?
I don't. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I've always at least seen them once before. So
I watched it twice. I watched it in theaters, and then I watched it again, like, in preparation
Tell
for
me
this.
this. Did you get together with some guy friends and go to the theater to watch this movie?
I don't think the context is important, but
You are
yes.
such a stereotype.
That is what happened.
Okay,
Yes, we
all right.
did.
So
Yeah.
but anyway, I say that because I have spent now, however long
Years at this point?
years. So it came out in 2018. So
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
like years and years I've been hearing,
Yeah.
you will like Deadpool 2 more than Deadpool 1.
Now that's damaging, though. I mean, that could backfire, hyping it up that way.
That's true, but I think my standards or my expectations were so low
Okay.
that it was really kind of impossible to like get me excited about it.
Yeah.
I was never going to be excited about this movie.
Right.
So I don't think that like the hyping it up was a problem.
Is it possible that you, even with all that hype, you never actually believed it?
A little bit. But I didn't like dread it. Like
So
I was like,
still wanna
okay,
go
we're
up.
gonna watch Deadpool
Yeah.
2. It'll be fine. I think my idea was that it would have more of a plot.
Okay.
And maybe like the humor and all of like the gags and stuff would still be there, but that I could like be interested in the plot and some of the characters. I was excited to see Domino, a little excited to see Cable, but you know,
Yeah.
Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
Didn't have huge expectations for that.
It's a weird choice. It is a weird casting choice.
We can get into that a little later.
Because I know you and Eric were just talking about the Cable episodes in the animated series. How does the two Cables
Well, I think
add up? How do they stack up?
I think that's a bit of a problem because, like, watching it so close together, because the portrayals are very, very different.
Completely. Night and day.
Very different.
Yeah.
And I talked to Eric about this on the last episode, whenever it was, and I haven't read the Cable comics.
Okay.
He's read the Cable comics. My Cable is the animated series
That's
Cable.
it. Yeah.
And I don't actually know how close characterization-wise that is. I know
Okay.
that the story has its closeness and its distance, but I'm not sure about the characterization. But my impression of these two Cables from animated series to Deadpool, very different.
Yes, I agree. I've always, like, anytime I don't think I've ever sat down and purposely, like, I'm going to read a Cable story. But every time that I've come up to Cable in an X-Men story or whatever that I've been reading, I do find myself always comparing it back to the animated
It's
Cable.
so good. I mean, our listeners will know from how we talked about it, but we really like how Cable is portrayed in that he's just got this overdone action star thing,
Right.
but he also has sort of a laid backness to him that's fun and like kind of a almost snarky. I don't know. He's just got kind of an edge that I think is interesting. As soon as I heard that Josh Brolin was going to be, and nothing against Josh Brolin,
Right.
he does a fine job, but he does exactly what I thought he was going to do, which was not particularly Cable-y.
Do you know, Michael Shannon was really close to getting Michael Shannon, like Zod in Man of Steel and other
Weird.
things. Yeah.
You know, he's got more of the look.
I understand
He's got
that,
more
but
of the look.
But I do think we were spared a Michael Shannon Cable. I don't think I would have enjoyed
I don't know.
that.
I don't know enough about his style.
Right.
But I almost do I don't know. Like, I hate to disagree with my guest host, but I almost feel like that would have been closer to what I expect from a Cable.
Okay.
He has more of like a lackadaisical swagger to him that I feel like works better. Yeah. I mean, in the animated series, part of what I like about Cable is that he's always sort of a little bit like, I don't need this. Mm-hmm. Like, he's like there to do a thing. Right. And honestly, it's very emotionally compelling, like the reasons that he's there. But he does always sort of have this feel that's like, just let me do the thing. Yeah. I just have to do the thing. Right. Stop stopping me.
It's part of his day. It's not his whole day.
Yes.
That sort of situation.
Yes. Okay. And I feel like I could have gotten that from Michael Shannon.
Yeah. Well, okay, I understand.
Anyway, so that's a lot about Cable.
It is. Let's talk Deadpool. So if you'll comic book coffee break with me for a minute here.
I will.
Have you, like, what Deadpool have you read? Like, have you purposely read any Deadpool?
I did actually just for this episode, basically, because I hadn't read a lot of Deadpool.
Just seen him in other things.
Like, I just seen him in other things. Like, he shows up in, other comics and does his little thing. Yeah. I've seen him in a little bit of X-Men and something about Jessica Jones. I might be making that up. But, so this time I got a couple Deadpool books to read and I read through them. They were a little different than I was expecting. I don't know if it's an era issue, but they weren't as funny. I was kind of imagining.
There was one called Bad Blood that was...
Yeah, I read that.
Oh, that you did read that. Okay. Did that compare to the movie at all?
It did. I felt... When I was watching the movie, I felt like I connected a lot of what happened to the comic. Okay. I don't know that it was, like...
Well,
that close, but if there were... More than anything, it was, like, imagery. Yeah. Like, there were just... moments and scenes that I felt like I had seen in that comic.
That was one that I was going to say I haven't read it and I kind of would like to because it came out as its own just original graphic novel. It wasn't like Deadpool number 30 through 35 or something. It was a self-contained thing that did come out not really like in conjunction with this, but I think they were aware that putting these out at the same time would be beneficial.
So this was
comic.
This was something that was
in the wake of the Deadpool movies.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I'd be interested, and I haven't yet, but maybe I will. I'm, not super motivated by Deadpool, but I'd be interested to see what the comics were like before the movie. And kind of like how that character compares to how Ryan Reynolds. Because everybody says that Ryan Reynolds is just Deadpool. Yeah. And like he just like nails it, and like everybody likes Deadpool. They think Ryan Reynolds is perfect. Yeah. I mean, we did a whole thing in the first Deadpool episode that we did about how long a Deadpool movie was in the works and how all along the way Ryan Reynolds was in their minds for Deadpool. And I mean, he was lobbying for it too. But I always get the impression that he was very... So, I mean, maybe it's very close, but I don't know. I haven't read the early stuff.
So, I've read like the very, very original stuff. And it's so different. I mean, he's kind of an antagonist in the beginning, so that's different. And then I've read some of the more recent stuff. Like I read one called Deadpool, Secret Agent Deadpool by Christopher Hastings, and I like that. But that was, I don't know, that was borderline spoof. But I liked that one quite a bit. And I recently, for this episode, I read one called Deadpool versus X-Force, which was like a time travel-y story that was kind of a Cable Deadpool thing that I didn't particularly like, but it was interesting nonetheless because the time travel aspect of that ties back into the original appearances of Deadpool, and they actually use the art from the original comic.
You love that kind of thing. I do.
So it's so meta, and I like that they're using that original
time
design and stuff.
And using art from the back in the day. Yeah. Oh my word.
Yeah, but I had a good time with Secret Agent Deadpool. That's kind of a weird one to recommend, but I thought that was a lot of fun because a lot of James Bond spoofiness happening, and I think it just worked.
James Bond spoofiness, by the way.
Yeah.
That opening.
Oh yeah.
That's
I loved that.
Heavy James Bond.
Straight up. Yeah.
But there were other... I mean, okay, so the opening of it starts with scenes happening, but then there's the opening sequence, and it starts very obviously James Bond. I picked up on several other
Oh, did you? I was too focused on it's very Roger Moore era James Bond opening credits, which I'm all about.
Yeah, and throughout. But there were a couple, they keep kind of doing the flashy images of like a movie poster kind of a thing. And there were several that struck me as other iconic movies. I thought that was interesting for them to
there's a lot of little Easter eggs and references throughout. Let me tell you a little bit about the comic book debut.
Okay.
All right. So he first appeared in New Mutants number 98 in February 91 is when this came out. Domino also makes her first appearance in this issue. Sort of. Like Eric was talking about this in the previous one. It actually turns out that you're not actually seeing Domino. You're seeing Vanessa, who is Copycat in the comics, pretending to be Domino.
But there must be a Domino somewhere.
Yes, and so she you eventually see the real character, but in her initial appearances, it's actually just Copycat.
So she goes way back.
She does.
With Deadpool.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, right from the start. It is very weird that they use Vanessa the way they do and never really touch on any of the things with Copycat.
Well, that's true. She's basically just a love interest.
She's just Vanessa. Yeah, you never really get anything out of there. So anyway, that's where he started in the comics and really just kind of exploded, I feel like, beyond there. It started as a niche character, but I think even before the Deadpool movies really hit, there was this big like Deadpool groundswell where he was a very popular character.
Well, he's exactly the kind of character that people would... He'd become a cult favorite.
Yeah,
it's just
definitely.
So obvious. I mean, the meta stuff, the quippy things, making fun of the characters that you love while you're reading about the characters that you love. I mean, it's just exactly the kind of thing that would have a groundswell.
Definitely. And I think it's a real horse race between Deadpool and Wolverine, like who had the most appearances. Because it seemed like for a while there, and I think it's kind of still true about Wolverine, it's like sooner or later, if you're even... tangentially, did I say that right?
Tangentially.
If you're even
tangentially.
If you're even that to the X-Men universe.
You're really playing Eric in this one.
Not intentionally, but that is the thing that I thought of. You're right. You're going to get a Wolverine or a Deadpool. That's the bottom line.
Got it.
It's gonna happen. So, just watch out for it because it's coming.
I will. Okay, well, let's talk about the movie.
Okay, let's do it. The sequel was a no-brainer, obviously. I mean, based on the numbers from the first one, they made it for like $50, and it made all the money in the world.
Did they have any expectation that it would be as big as it was the first one?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that leaked footage, was super popular.
Such a good idea.
And the excitement leading up to it was huge. So I think, in the midst of it, they were kind of like, I think we have something here. I don't think anybody anticipated it outpacing all of the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think that was on the radar at all. But the sequel was greenlit before the first one came out. So I think they were at least that committed to it. And when it came out, obviously, they were like, oh, okay, well, this is going to be a big deal. A lot of returning cast. So, of course, we have Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, Marina Baccarin as Vanessa, TJ Miller as Weasel, Brianna Hildebrand as Negasonic, all coming back from the first movie. You have Stefan Kapicic, who comes back as the voice of Colossus. The first time he was only doing the voice. This time he's actually doing the capture for it. So you're seeing like his expressions and his acting.
Okay.
It was more like just a CGI and a body double the first time.
I did like his look more in this one. I don't know if they put more money into it. I guess probably.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I really hated him a lot.
I know. Yeah, that was. I learned that revisiting your episode.
My gosh, it was so bad.
Not a fan.
I didn't have any high expectations for him, but I'm pretty sure it was a better Colossus.
Yeah.
Like the look of it was a lot less cartoony.
Yeah. Well, you guys talked a lot about, how he's like basically just a big metal Captain America and a Boy Scout. And that's certainly true here. But I guess I bought a little more him wanting to get Deadpool onto the team.
Oh, yeah.
Like that,
well, I think character-wise, he's a pretty good growth. Like, he grows out of the character from the first movie very naturally. I think they play into whatever weird friendship they apparently have, which I guess you just sort of accept that they have this...
They're buddies.
Close relationship.
Yep.
But physically, like the look of him, I thought was much better done.
I agree. Also returning, we had Leslie Uggams and Karen Sony as Blind Al and Dopinder. I love him. The taxi driver is so funny. Lots of new Marvel characters here, and it's it's so funny the way that X-Force is set up. You think like, yes, this is going to be a thing.
Here we go.
But let me just tell you who we have cast-wise. So we have Julian Dennison as Russell Collins / Fire Fist. We have Zazie Beetz as Domino, and I had just recently watched Invincible. And Zazie Beetz voices one of the main characters on Invincible.
Oh,
so I was like, oh, hey. I cannot remember her name, but she dates Mark in that first season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like her.
I know, I do too. So we have her as Domino. Over on X-Force, we have Josh Brolin, as we've discussed, as Cable. Mm-hmm. This is funny because he's already played Jonah Hex in the Jonah Hex movie for DC. And then over on Marvel, we have him playing Thanos in the whole,
And of course, we get a joke from this movie.
Yes, we do. You have to. No Jonah Hex, though. And both Ryan Reynolds and Josh Brolin have appeared in lackluster DC movies, and
that's
that wasn't
true. That could have been They do mention DC.
They do
in the movie.
Yeah,
so it's
they
not
do.
even like they're staying away from that.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just too much of a deep cut. Like, does anyone remember that Josh Brolin was Jonah Hex in a Jonah Hex movie?
I remember that.
Yeah. Fun fact: I also saw Jonah Hex in theaters. This is interesting. So the Hollywood Reporter indicated that him appearing as Cable here was the first in a 4-picture deal of him playing Cable.
A 4?
A 4, and so obviously this predates the Disney merger and all that. So who knows what their plans were? But you have to kind of assume that we were going to be seeing a full-on X-Force movie. And
well, I'm surprised to hear that they were planning more like that. I guess that many more Deadpool, but they definitely set it up as if Cable's going to be in more movies.
Well, I think that just as the Disney merger was happening, you had the situation where they were kind of branching out. You were going to have X-Men movies, you were going to have New Mutants movies, you were going to have Deadpool, you were going to have X-Force, and they were going to have sort of like a Fox Marvel universe.
You are making me sad.
I know. I would have liked to seen it too. So it's not necessarily that there was going to be 4 more Deadpool movies.
Oh,
but
just Cable in movies. Yeah,
was going to be in Fox.
He's a
Marvel
good character.
movies.
I wish that they'd done Cable.
Well,
the way I like Cable,
but
I guess.
maybe we would have gotten that.
Yeah, it's possible.
You know what I mean? Maybe we would have gotten that because I think he walked a fine line of being Cable-y in a Deadpool movie.
Right. Well, listen, I need to say,
yes,
I think
please.
that Josh Brolin did a good job as the character he was playing. Mm-hmm. I was disappointed that it wasn't Cable-y, but I think he was a good character. I think he fit pretty well. I think that he was a good foil for their nonsense and I think he did a good job, and I don't think that he I didn't hate watching him on the screen or anything like that.
No, I didn't either. I felt like there were some Cable moments. Did you not connect with him as Cable at all?
It's not like I didn't recognize him as Cable,
know,
but I didn't. No, not character-wise.
Okay.
Action-wise, maybe, but not. Yeah, I didn't feel it.
Okay.
So you did?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, I could see it. Well, I think some of the stuff with his family made sense to me, like when we're seeing the flashbacks and him sort of first appearing. I don't know. I felt like I understood what he was doing, and it felt accurate to me.
Yeah. Well, I think plot-wise it was.
Yeah.
I just didn't get his vibe.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
We also have Terry Crews as Bedlam. We have Louis Tan as Shatterstar. Louis Tan was also in Iron Fist. He played Zhu Chang over on Iron Fist. Bill Skarsgård as Zeitgeist. Another funny, sort of one-line joke there. Brad Pitt shows up as Vanisher.
So good.
Momentarily. That was in the theaters. I had to kind of it happened, and I was like, was that Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
We had Rob Delaney as Peter.
Oh, Peter.
I don't know if that technically counts.
Bless his heart.
So we have Eiley Hivenen as Hope Summers, and that was really just kind of a cameo, but she was there. We have Shioro Kutsana as Yukio. Now, we've seen Yukio in The Wolverine already, played by Riley Fukushima, and this is obviously...
her.
Oh, I did too.
Loved her.
Oh, I liked Yukio in this movie too, but there's no...
Very different. Yeah, they're not the same character.
You can't.
I wonder why they did that. It could have been just some cute teenage girl. I wonder why they decided to have it be Yukio.
I don't know. I like that it was somebody on brand. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But it was a weird choice to not do it.
Her portrayal in the Wolverine movie is just so striking.
It is. Yeah.
And she has a whole, her whole joining him and they go off in the plane and I don't know, it just...
Yeah, it's
I thought it was weird.
No, it's a weird choice. It's a weird choice.
I do like her character in this,
I do too.
She was really funny.
All the just them saying hi to each other.
Yeah.
Just cracked me
you know
up
what
every
she
time.
reminded me of?
What?
Knives.
Oh.
In
sure, Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
She had the same kind of hi.
Yeah.
She filled a similar role
That's
of
true.
just being a nice girl who's just young and happy and interested in you and stuff.
Tell me if this is a surprise to you, but Yukio and Negasonic represent the first openly LGBTQ relationship portrayed in a Marvel film.
Really?
I read that and I was like, that can't be true. And I looked it up in multiple places, and it is.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I can't think of another one. But like, it surprised me.
Man,
it
Marvel,
just surprised me.
For a company whose comics are so focused. I mean,
Yeah.
like, they still suck at representation, but like the idea is like with the X-Men, the idea is this like everybody matters and like the underprivileged and all this stuff. They suck at representation.
Oh, they do.
It's like they're not even trying. And honestly, I feel like maybe they're not even trying.
I would say yes, you've hit the nail on the head with that one. Yeah.
Anyway,
yes.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
They were fun.
Yeah.
So anyway.
We have Jack Casey as Black Tom Cassidy. So he's Banshee's cousin in the comic books.
All of his stuff with Black Tom was so funny.
The running gag about the racism.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, open your heart.
Yeah. It worked really well. Do you know this character? I assumed with the name Cassidy that he was related to Banshee, but he is in fact Banshee's cousin.
Oh, he is?
He is.
Well, they didn't do anything with that.
No, and he's also a frequent partner of Juggernaut, and they never crossed paths. I read that originally Black Tom was meant to be more of an antagonist, and then when they kind of decided they wanted to focus on Juggernaut, he got relegated to more of a
That's too bad.
C or D
I felt
role.
a little bit. I mean, like, criticizing a Deadpool movie for being obvious is kind of redundant, but I thought it was a shame to use Juggernaut just because.
Well, yeah.
He's just sort of a blunt object. I'm not super interested in him.
Maybe we should save that till we get to that point. But I agree with you, and I also don't really think they even used Juggernaut. It just could have been any heavy.
Yeah.
Did he ever run? Like, did he ever move?
There
quickly?
was one moment where he ran.
Okay.
Early on.
Okay.
But and I was disappointed too because they had the whole setup with like the monster in the basement and stuff, and it was just Juggernaut.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And then it was just sort of like a goofy, like really played for laughs.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ryan Reynolds does the voice and the CGI capture for it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Of course, we have seen this character in an equally underwhelming version in X-Men: The Last Stand, portrayed by Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
He at least ran.
You know what's funny? This makes me think.
He was hard to stop.
As a Juggernaut might be. It's funny because it makes me think of in the animated series where the creators and directors would often, if there was a space where there was an unnamed mutant, like we just need a mutant, they would have fun with bringing in characters from the Marvel universe.
Sure, yeah.
That somehow always works.
Yeah.
But in these movies, it feels like they're doing a similar thing where they're like, we just need a heavy. Why don't we have it be Juggernaut?
Yeah.
And instead of that being like a fun opportunity to bring somebody in, it's just sort of like, well, why did you waste him on that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That is kind of how it comes across there.
Yeah.
We have an X-Men cameo. Do you want to talk about this now? Or
I love the X-Men cameo.
All right.
Well, I mean, I guess while we're talking about characters, maybe we might as well.
All right. So this was actually on the set of Dark Phoenix, and it was directed by that little moment was directed by Simon Kinberg while Dark Phoenix was happening. Because you remember, all of these movies got shoveled around a bunch. Like New Mutants was displaced by Deadpool 2 and everything. Yeah. So but in the scene, so you briefly see James McAvoy as Professor X, Nicholas Hoult as Beast, Evan Peters as Quicksilver, the real Quicksilver, not a faux Quicksilver.
Not a pretend, yes.
Ty Sheridan as Cyclops. Oh, so boring. So boring, Ty Sheridan as Cyclops.
I know that's
not this movie, but boy. Moment. Oh my gosh. And Alexandra Shipp as Storm. Loved it.
That was a good moment.
Yeah.
Because they're in the X Mansion.
Yeah.
We'll get to how they get to the X Mansion. But Deadpool is in the X Mansion and he's complaining in his classic, breaking the third wall way about how they couldn't spring for any of the.
I think anybody can break a third wall. It takes someone special to break the fourth, I think. Yeah.
You walk off stage and breaking the third wall.
Right. I have broken the third wall.
Anyway. Thanks for the theater snobbery.
Yes, you're welcome.
Anyway,
you're welcome.
So breaking the fourth wall, Nicholas.
Yeah.
And complaining about how they didn't spring for any of the famous X-Men.
Right.
Which I thought was funny for them to talk about famous X-Men because I was like, oh, there are X-Men that are famous
Yeah,
now. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, complaining about that, and they walk past a door.
Yeah.
And in that door, you see Beast reach out to close the door, hiding himself and all of those characters that you just named all of the famous.
It really is. I mean, it's perfect. It's a perfect moment.
Oh, it was so funny.
I love it. Finally, we have a fun little cameo when Cable first appears, and you have the two guys on the back of the pickup truck talking about toilet paper. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Do you have any idea? Did you recognize them? Did you know who they were?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
It's Matt Damon and Alan Tudyk.
What?
Yeah.
Honestly, I can understand why I wouldn't recognize Matt Damon, because he has an element to him that's kind of everyman. Alan Tudyk, wow. I'm very surprised I did not recognize him.
Well, Matt Damon gets the bulk of the dialogue.
Okay.
But you do see them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Usually, I don't know why, Alan Tudyk just jumps right out at me in anything he's in. Like, I spot him a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Well, now
I
I have to go look at that scene
You do.
again.
Yeah, you're going to have to watch it.
I do love that kind of thing. I mean, I guess we get that a bunch in here, like with Brad Pitt and everything. Just like kind of big stars just slumming it.
Yeah.
For a silly movie.
I know, just to kind of show up and do it. So as far as production goes, filming began in June of 2017. There was an on-set accident that was pretty widely covered there. Stuntwoman S.G. Harris was killed.
Oh my gosh!
Filming a motorcycle scene as Domino. They didn't have a helmet that worked with the costume, and
shut up. They didn't have her wear a helmet because it didn't work with the costume.
They didn't have, because she was newer, and they didn't have a helmet that fit with the Domino wig.
Well, I hate that.
Yes.
That's awful.
It is awful. And production was completely closed down, and it was a major thing. A lot of criticism about, what went into that. And the film was released with a dedication to her.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
I know. Yeah, it really is. We have director David Leitch, who's replacing Tim Miller. Tim Miller, was sort of like when the first movie came out, Tim Miller and Ryan Reynolds were like, this is the dream team. Uh-huh. But I guess they clashed in getting ready for the sequel. I think at the time I remember reading that it was sort of like Ryan Reynolds wanted more, say in what was going on, and it just sort of led to something that didn't work.
I wondered, because I always get the impression that Ryan Reynolds is a nice person in general. Yeah. But the amount of input that he seems to have in these movies makes me feel like that would happen. You know, like anytime that like the lead actor is also, helping with the writing, helping with the directing. Yeah. I mean, I can't really imagine that not causing friction.
No, I think it's very understandable. That makes perfect sense. So we did get a new director for this one. Written by Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, and Ryan Reynolds. The score was by Tyler Bates. Did the score leave any impact on you? Not
really, no. I mean, I picked up more on the little soundtrack kind of elements rather than the score.
I tend they go heavy with an X-Men style theme, and they're probably pulling from the other movies. I don't know for sure, but when they're doing an X-Men theme, it does stand out, and I do like it.
Well, see, that's interesting, because now that I'm thinking about it, there are a couple moments that I remember thinking that this is kind of overplaying a dramatic score. There were just moments, I guess maybe when they were in the plane or something. Yeah. I remember thinking it was sort of like a off-brand action movie score.
Well, maybe I'm giving too much credit here, but I thought that sometimes the score was purposely being overplayed. It was this is that moment in a movie.
Yeah, I guess that could be.
Especially when you're showing establishing shots of the X-Mansion and stuff, and they're hitting it so hard. I felt like it was on purpose, but maybe not.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would make sense for the style of movie.
It would. The title track, Ashes, was recorded by Celine Dion for the movie.
I didn't recognize her. I thought that it was Bruno Mars when it first started. Okay. And then 30 seconds into the song or so, I was like, this is Celine Dion.
I feel
this is not Bruno Mars.
This is history being made right here. I don't think Celine Dion has ever been confused for Bruno Mars before this moment.
I mean, I would never have imagined that would be the case, but I know that when the song started, I was like, is this Bruno Mars? Yeah. And then at some point, I realized it was Celine Dion. Okay. That is a live experience that I had.
What a journey. Thank you for sharing it with me. There are some alternate versions of the film. So a PG-13 version was cut and released to theaters called Once Upon a Deadpool.
And this was the Christmassy kind of
situation? I mean, it was released around Christmas, and it had a frame story with Fred Savage that was a parody of The Princess Bride.
I love The Princess Bride. I know.
And, I mean, Fred Savage is funny, and those commercials for that scene looked funny. But it wasn't, it was just sort of why? Yeah. why do a PG-13 Deadpool? It just kind of didn't really...
Is odd.
You know,
is that maybe bending to some pressure from the studio?
Possibly, or, you know, just kids who couldn't see Deadpool and wanted to see it, like, had an opportunity. I really don't know. I don't know. The proceeds on this went to charity, and that was why, you know, Ryan Reynolds and others were okay with, like, recutting it down.
Yeah.
So, it's there. It exists. It was released in theaters. It is available. You know, you can get it on you know, physical or digital media.
So if you want your 12-year-old to watch a Deadpool movie, this is the one.
I guess so. There's also a super duper cut with 15 minutes of extended or alternate jokes. The biggest difference, I think, is a time traveling post credit scene with Baby Hitler.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Where he doesn't end up killing Baby Hitler. I'm just going to tell you right there. But I read that they cut it out of the movie because it just made people too uncomfortable, like joking about murdering a baby, even if it was Hitler. So that was cut. But it is in the super duper cut, which is out there. IMDb lists this as a $110 million budget. The worldwide box office at our time of recording, 786. How do you even say that number?
786,470,484.
Wow. Okay, so 786 million on 100. I mean, that's a pretty good turnaround for that money. It is the highest grossing film in the X-Men franchise.
Embarrassing.
And was the highest grossing rated R movie ever until Joker beat it out the next year. Rotten Tomatoes has a 84-85 critics and audience score, so pretty dead even there, pretty popular.
Yeah.
Overall.
So speaking of being a rated R film,
yes,
the movie starts with some pretty heavy shade to the other X-Men R rating, Logan.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So that's how we start the film Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
We've got... as Eric would say, in medias res.
Yes.
Start to the movie where Deadpool is suicidal over something that we don't know. He's spending a lot of time criticizing Hugh Jackman for stealing his thunder.
Yeah, he says something like they ride on my coattails with the R rating, and so pretty.
And then he dies, and so now I'm going to die in this movie.
Right.
But then we see a lot of shots of Vanessa, and so we suspect that perhaps something to do with Vanessa is the reason that he is suicidal. And then he blows himself up.
He does, but you've skipped over the Logan music box that he winds up. So it's a music box of Logan, like on the rebar or whatever.
Right,
it is,
when he dies in Logan.
At the very end of Logan, and he presses the little thing sticking out of his chest, and the music box starts, and All Out of Love is what's playing on it.
All out of love.
Funny? Not funny.
I mean...
So I watched this not with Eric. I watched it before he did, and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna really upset him." And then when he went to see it in theaters, they were late, and he didn't see that part. And I was like,
"Interesting." I mean, I don't feel like it was disrespectful or anything. I don't know if I feel like it was particularly funny. Yeah. I liked the general shade at Logan thing. Yeah. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
So he blows himself up.
Yes.
He lies on several cans of gasoline and throws a cigarette in.
Yeah.
You see his body parts going all over the place.
Yeah.
So then, what happened? What led up to this point?
So we go 6 weeks.
Then we have the sequence of, right? Is that when we have the opening sequence?
We go back to like Hong Kong. It's a quick scene in Hong Kong. We have a very violent scene, obviously, where he breaks in and everybody's fighting.
Yeah.
And,
so we go back to like 6 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
And basically just have a whole sequence of this is what Deadpool does with his time.
Right.
It's just him going after the bad guys, lots of killing, lots of, jumping and doing his thing. The thing I like about Deadpool a lot of the time.
Oh, I'm ready.
Is his skill.
Yeah.
Like I really like that he's genuinely just just really good at this stuff, even as he's like irreverent and stupid and stuff. I always like that kind of thing when there's like an imbecile or like a fool who just has this skill. It reminds me, I'll say, of Trigun, the anime, because that's a very similar thing. He's not rude or anything. He just like plays off as like a total lunatic idiot and then is like a crazy sharpshooter.
Snaps into it.
So yeah, that's a similar vibe. Did
you notice an Ace Ventura reference in there? Because you guys were talking a lot about him giving you Jim Carrey vibes in this.
That's true.
And he throws somebody in a bathroom or something, and he's like, "Do not go in there."
Oh no!
And it has to be. That has to be an Ace Ventura reference.
I don't remember seeing that. That would definitely have to be.
So yeah, it made me think of that.
Funny. Yeah. So after he has this whole thing, he jumps. He's running to the car. We see Dopinder, and so I was very excited to have him.
And
back.
he's like listening to a self-help audiobook or something in the car. Yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds is running to the car. Start the car. Yeah. He dives in through the back window, and the guy runs. It's very classic humor at action movie stuff. And then he wriggles his way up to the front and has a conversation with Dopinder, in which we learned that Dopinder has decided he too wants to be a contract killer.
Yes, he does.
And this is something that will return throughout the movie.
It will. To
retain Dopinder's character
Yes.
throughout.
Yes. And now we're back to Vanessa.
Now we're
kind of setting up the scene. Right away we get a Batman v Superman reference.
Yeah, well, you've got to.
You have to.
I mean, it almost felt like it felt like low-hanging fruit to me because he went straight for the Martha thing.
Yeah. Well, I think timing-wise, it was really fresh on the heels.
In 2018, that might have worked
well,
better.
I mean, now everybody, Teen Titans go to the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, so everybody has made that joke. So it felt stale, but I'm not going to knock him for that because it probably wasn't at the time.
Yeah, right. But anyway, so he shows up at the apartment with Vanessa and is apologizing for, being late and stuff. And she does a very good straight man, she's pissed at him and everything. And so you're thinking this is the thing that he ends up wanting to kill himself about. She's going to leave him.
Right.
But no, she's fine. Jumps all over him. It's their anniversary. They exchange gifts. Do we ever see what she gives him?
Yes. It's her birth control.
That's right. Because I remember her opening his.
Yeah.
And it was the token.
Yeah. From their first date.
Which was weirdly thoughtful. And I feel like was the first thing that sort of hinted that you were going to get a little more heart in this movie.
Yeah.
Because there was no joke to it. It was just genuinely he was thoughtful.
Yeah.
And remembered their first date and went and got her a thing.
Right. Like, I feel like in the first movie it would have been like a condom or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? or that wrapped in a condom, I guess, maybe.
So he gives her that. She loves it. She gives him her IED.
Right.
IED?
I don't know.
IUD. She thinks IED. It's IUD, intrauterine device.
Okay.
Which is just on the top of my head.
I know, yeah, apparently. Yeah. First time intrauterine has been said on this podcast, I believe. Device. Possibly across the whole Radio Meanwhile network.
It's possible. Well, I fixed that problem.
Yes, you have.
But anyway, and they make a joke about IEDs, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But she gives it to him because she's decided.
Yeah, she's ready. Ready to have
presumably
ready
after some discussion that they're going to have a baby.
Because he knows exactly what she's talking about. This scene is legit. The scene between them is a very serious, like...
They're very happy.
It's a well-played scene.
Deadpool is talking about, names and, like, how his dad was never there for him and all this stuff. And she's like, you're not your dad. And it's a very sweet scene.
Yes.
And does anything else happen before time passes, or is it just more of that scene?
No, it's that scene, and then like he hears something and tells her to get down. We go right into it
because they have some sexy times.
Yes.
And then they're watching TV, and he goes to get a beer or something, and then we get him sort of switching back from like Wade on the couch to superhero guy,
right?
Because he has this kind of intense moment where he hears someone coming, or he sort of senses it or whatever, and he says, "Get down." Someone bursts through the door, guns a-blazing. And he goes all Deadpool.
He grabs the kitchen knives.
Yes. And so she, I think, goes over the back of the couch or something like that. There's all kinds of action, lots of stabby.
Lots of it, yeah.
And then it's down to one guy, or no, it's down to, he gets rid of everybody that he's aware of. She comes out, she's fine. We thought she was going to die, but she's fine. So everything's great.
Everything's great.
We can move on.
Yeah.
And be happy with them having children.
I think we should, yeah.
Then another guy shows up. He shoots. Wade has like a cheese
a spreader,
knife, and very ninja-y blocks the bullet. But little does he know he has redirected the bullet, and now it hits Vanessa, and she dies.
Does he redirect the bullet?
Oh yeah, you missed that?
I thought he just missed
No.
Oh.
No, he redirects it. Like when he says it was his fault, he means it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He like blocks the bullet
and
I
missed
redirects it.
I thought he just missed it through, like he throws the knife and it sticks near him. He actually causes it.
He causes it.
Okay, well
So she dies and he's just done.
Yeah.
He chases after the guy, jumps out the window, chases him down the alley, ends up causing a car crash, and then like pulls the guy out. I'm not going to be able to do a lot of describing about what happened because basically anytime he starts punching, I just look away until the noise stops.
Well, this was actually kind of, again, it was like, I'm not a tearjerker, but it was a very, like...
It was moving.
Serious moment because he grabs him out of the car and you think he's going to, like, kill him, but he hugs him and is, like, very sad and then steps in front of a bus and they're both, But it was good acting. It was really solid acting when he gives him, like, pulls him into that embrace. You just don't expect it and it seems genuine.
Yeah.
And it's just a weird good moment. Then the James Bond intro. We were wrong about that.
Okay.
It's here. It is here.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
So then we have the James Bond situation, and then we get to Weasel in the bar, which I always enjoy.
Yep.
The two of them, doing whatever.
Basically, we learned that he's been there for days at this point. It smells bad, and he's trying to get him to go.
He pees on the floor.
Yes, and he has a whole thing about, like, George Michael was right, I'm never going to dance again. And then he's like, and George Michael's gone too. He's like, at least we have Bowie. And everybody's like,
Totally, still around.
You do.
Yep.
For sure.
So we have, him in his... safe place with his friends and everything. There's a big biker guy who comes up and is trying to be philosophical with him and can't pronounce what is it that he says.
It's a psychological. It's like a test.
Oh yeah, I guess I don't know. Now I'm gonna sound stupid, but the thing with depression, the stages of depression, and he has to correct the guy as he would me.
Yeah,
and. That's just a fun little thing.
And that's in the bloopers. You actually see that play out that the guy really was struggling with the line.
I think
they
that's
just
so
kind of
funny.
worked it in. Yeah, it is funny.
Okay, so we get to the bar and then we're caught up, basically. Like he goes back to his apartment, he sees all of the things that are left behind, like the toaster strudels that they had put in before.
He talks
and then
to
we get the
Lindau
voiceover.
for a while. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
He doesn't go back to his apartment. He goes to her apartment.
First, yes.
So he goes to Blind Al. And this is the first time we've seen her since the first movie, and it's a fun little thing.
It is.
He sneaks in while she's listening to like an audio drama or something, some thing
I think
she's
it's just the TV's on. But...
preoccupied with. And he goes and has a stash of cocaine that he's very excited about.
Cocaine and money, yeah.
And you sort of think that maybe they aren't speaking because he's sneaking around so much, but then as soon as she sits down, he
quotes a line on the show she's watching.
Yeah, he says it along with her,
Yeah.
and then like they're sitting together, and being very cute, like they do, like they're a cute little family.
They are, yeah.
And then she has heard about Vanessa.
Right.
Is very sympathetic.
Right. And then we go back to the apartment. Then we have the explosion.
Yes.
Yeah. And when we do the explosion, we have sort of like this ethereal scene where he's like floating and Vanessa's saying like your heart's not in the right place or something
That's
like
right.
that. You have all these weird things going on. I thought it was an interesting move that in those like ethereal dreamy moments that he's still like avocado Ryan Reynolds and not like sexy Ryan Reynolds.
That's
I
true.
thought that was an interesting choice.
That is interesting. Well, it may come into play later.
Well, okay.
So yes, he has when he dies or whatever.
Yes.
He seems to go to wherever Vanessa is and gets this hint that his heart isn't in the right place. And then he goes back, and Colossus has come and found him.
Yeah, collected the pieces of him, basically. Yeah.
Which are apparently sentient and conscious. Because he talks in the bag, doesn't he?
He
Talk
does,
when he's in the bag? I mean, can you imagine?
No.
He's not pain-free.
Right.
But anyway, presumably they stitch him back together or place him in the right order.
Whatever
and
happens,
and his body comes back.
Yeah.
But then, so he's now at the X Mansion. And Colossus has decided that this is the moment where he's going to change his life.
Yeah, he's hit rock bottom, so Colossus is like, this is the time.
Yes, you don't have anybody. You need a family. We're going to be your family. You're going to be an X-Man.
Yes.
And so he decides, and we have a little bit of, hesitation from Deadpool about, I'm not a hero. I did all these bad things. I killed Vanessa, blah.
This is one of my favorite scenes. Him just like being sullen in the X-Mansion, riding around in Xavier's chair and everything.
Funny.
It's just so funny. Knocking things over. Yeah. That was broken when it fell.
As completely random as the relationship between he and Colossus seems to me, I do like once you accept that apparently they're friends, I do like their interactions. I think that it's sweet and you do get the impression they really actually care about each other.
And I mean, by this one, at least in the movies, it's kind of been earned.
Yeah.
In the first one, it's like, why are these two talking?
Yeah.
But now it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed that Negasonic didn't have much to do in
She
this
didn't.
one.
But honestly, I felt good that they kept her.
Yeah.
Because to an extent, Domino kind of fills that slot.
Yeah.
But
Domino and Russell, I think also Fire Fist. Also kind of, because that's sort of a paternal thing there. And he's sort of a partner with Domino, but yeah.
Yeah, but I was glad they did that because that relationship is important from the first
Oh,
movie.
definitely. And I would rather have her than not. I just wanted a little more, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like her and Yukio. This is really a first meet, and then it sets up this running gag of Deadpool being like, "Hi, Yukio."
Yeah.
Hi, Deadpool. Like the whole, that's just their thing, and it cracks me up.
I think the best part is that he doesn't seem to be joking or like mocking her or anything. I think she just like turns something on in him that he's just like, "Hi."
They have like a real connection. It's very funny. Yeah.
Very cute. So what happened? How does he decide? He just decides to be nice?
I mean, I think he's going through, and Colossus is reading from the little, like, tiny little X-Men handbook. This is where we have the X-Men cameo, and I think he's just kind of like, I think Colossus kind of forces it. He's like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And so it's on.
Yeah. And he was an X-Man in the comics for a time.
Yeah.
So that's a fun little thing for him.
Technically true. Okay.
So then, that sort of settles us in that place for a little bit.
This is what we're doing.
And we look away to Cable.
Yes.
And we're seeing the future, as we do with Cable. We see him where he is. And some sort of violent situation is happening. Some people are being attacked in his apartment.
Yeah.
We don't...
You don't get the full context.
Yeah, you don't not yet know what's going on, but people are dying. And there's fire. And... No. I'm wrong. It's not people being attacked. It's the aftermath.
Yes, because he finds the teddy bear.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay.
We do eventually see a flashback that shows more, but I think at this point it is just like the aftermath.
It's Cable
You're right.
coming into his home.
Yes.
Finding the charred remains of his wife and daughter.
Which was just, it's context clues at this point. You're not given anything.
Yeah, it's all, there's no dialogue or anything. It's just that happening. And he finds the charred teddy bear.
Yes.
And takes it with him so that later he can have a Back to the Future moment.
Yes.
And he decides that he needs to fix this somehow and does his Cable thing and slides away to the past.
He quantum leaps. Is that right? Is that a different frame?
It's
wrong.
different.
Okay,
that is a different.
Sorry. I felt it as soon as I said it.
Different thing. So what happens next?
Well, back in the regular timeline, I guess, Negasonic is in her kind of a sick X-Men uniform. It's a little different from the one before, but it still has that New Mutants vibe to it from the comics. And Deadpool has like a little like cut off half jersey that's similar. It's like the red.
He's a trainee.
Yeah, it's the yellow and in navy colors, and they show up at this asylum.
Yeah, this is
place?
sort of like a classic X-Men.
Yeah. Kind of like
mission.
Wherever
like,
the new...
There's a teenager
Yeah.
who is having a crisis, and it's related to his mutant powers, so they're going to show up and help.
I guess probably Deadpool is not looking for any kind of connectivity, but the reason why you guys decided to put New Mutants in this running order is because that's when it was supposed to come out. And so New Mutants establishes that these clinics or whatever are a thing and run by the Essex Corporation.
Right.
And here we have another one of these. So I don't know if maybe they were threading a needle there.
I'm sure that they were.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as New Mutants and this one go, I think by the time they were releasing it, they just weren't worrying about that at all.
You're probably
so
right.
it sort of... It felt more to me like they were saying Essex so that people could be like, Sinister, and not trying to connect the movies so much anymore. It felt like they just sort of dropped that.
Yeah, it could be.
storyline.
Boy, is there a character that's been teased more than Sinister has been teased in these movies?
I'm happy for him to continue to be teased.
You're not a Sinister fan,
and
huh?
never come to fruition. I am very
right.
happy. Although,
What about when he's
Eric
like
told
the
me,
fancy schmancy upper crusty Sinister?
I don't like him. He's
not
gross.
a fan. Okay.
When Eric told me who they were planning, or who was,
That was me.
that was you?
That was me in the New Mutants episode, yeah.
Well, when you told me
Yeah.
that it was going to be John Hamm,
Credit
I
where-
would watch John Hamm as Sinister.
You would watch a John Hamm Sinister vehicle.
I would.
Okay.
I would definitely do that.
All right. John
So-
Hamm, call your agent.
For what it's worth.
Are they taking his calls still? I feel like John Hamm's
He's
lost.
kind of past.
He's lost a little juice,
Although,
hasn't he?
I feel like the pandemic just sort of killed everybody's career.
True.
Like, I don't know who's anything
I
anymore.
don't either. No, I don't know either. So we do get another Essex reference here. It's not subtle. You see it outright.
Yeah.
It's clearly like this is the Essex
and
Court.
it's just another place. I mean, another thing is that the way that this asylum is run is not even close to what we see in like Logan or in New Mutants. None of it is remotely reminiscent.
That's true.
And the things that they do with the kids don't seem related or anything. It just sort of seems like its own thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, they show up and this kid is having a meltdown, and clearly the people at this home for kids or whatever are abusive in some way.
Not
like
good
it's
dudes.
very clear from the get-go that this is what the situation is. This kid has had enough of whatever crap they're doing to him. So it's a kid in the middle of the road threatening to like burn people, and
down.
he's like, you know, sending his mutant fire
his mutant fire.
And so the X-Men show up. There's a reporter.
We see the
there.
Blackbird.
We see the
like,
Blackbird.
It's really the Blackbird.
We see the
landing.
Blackbird. And I mean, it just really feels just like a very familiar the X-Men are on the job kind of moment, which is nice because we honestly don't get a lot of that in the other movies.
Yeah, true.
So I'll take that where I can get it.
Did you feel like you were seeing the X-Men for a moment there, or did it pass?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, like more just like when you see the jet and like the situation.
Yeah.
It felt very much like that. And you get the reaction from the crowd and from like the reporters who were like, oh, the X-Men are here. They're going to take care of this.
It's just funny, like what road you're traveling to get here, because I think comic book wise, I would say Colossus is an A-list X-Men.
He definitely
You know what I mean? But coming from the movies,
as far as the
he's an
movies
extra.
go. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's just it's a weird choice that they make. But I think it's cool to see them kind of roll in the way they do. And then of course Deadpool decides to take the lead on it.
Mm-hmm. Which is a little bit of the like brazen jerk who doesn't know what he's doing, stumbling into the situation, and also a little bit like he is sort of the right person for the job because everybody else wants to handle the situation.
Yeah.
And like the police just want to get the mutie, you know, and like it was kind of hard for me to say mutie. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what they call him. And then the X-Men are just trying to de-escalate the situation, like no violence and all this stuff. And Deadpool sees it for what it is, which I think the viewer does too, right off the bat.
Yeah.
But he just goes straight to the kid and is like, something's going on here.
Before that, he ticks the kid off a couple times, and first the kid lashes out, misses
That's
Deadpool,
right.
and hits Negasonic, and then the second time takes out Colossus.
Yeah, that is funny. That is funny. But then eventually he goes like up to the kid and is like, are these guys hurting you? Like, what's going on here? And the kid tells him, you know, what's going on. And Deadpool shoots one of them in the head.
That was a very startling moment.
Yeah.
It was really startling. Even, I mean, I kind of forgot, like watching it again when it happened, I was like, whoa, because it does happen very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, it's not rushed. You see him make the decision, but like as soon as it happens, it's a game changer. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know.
And I guess it's as shocking because he seems like he's going with the program.
Yeah.
With the X-Men, and it's early for him to do something that drastic in like a typical movie.
Yeah.
Like it would maybe like he would have a couple scenes of being a trainee X-Man before he shoots someone in the head.
Right.
But this is a Deadpool movie, and so he shoots the guy in the head. Not the main guy, but like there were two like people from the facility that we see, and one of those gets shot in the head.
Yes.
And that just...
Well, and I think he would have continued if he hadn't been, you know, detained
and so Colossus
very quickly.
is not having that at all. Like that's a trigger. He's just done.
And
like,
it's collar on both of them very quickly.
That's right.
So
they have power.
Yeah.
They have power inhibitors that the cops, I guess, have, and pop those on them.
There is, before we move on, in that scene prior to the big confrontation, Deadpool gets knocked into the school, and there's a kid up there, and he like has a little conversation with the kid, and he signs a cereal box for him. Mm-hmm. And there's a running joke of Deadpool being a trainee. He's like, I'm an X-Man, and the kid's like a trainee.
Yeah. He
signs a cereal box and throws him, and you see when the cereal box lands, it's a Hugh Jackman as Wolverine on a Wheaties box, signed Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Which is just, there's just so many levels of joke there that I thought that was really funny.
That was fun, yeah.
So anyway, they're collared up, and we go to prison with Deadpool and Russell.
Yeah, and they take them to this prison that they have they've mentioned it a couple times in like a you don't want to go there kind of a way. It was like something about
the ice box.
Ice box.
Something, yeah.
Ice box, which appears to be a place where they just throw mutants.
Yeah.
Who are more violent, I guess.
It didn't strike me the first time, but this time I thought it was kind of similar to the prison you see in Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. With just the levels and the way the cells were and everything. It reminded me of that.
So they have Russell and Wade with their collars on, so Wade is no longer healing.
And his cancer's coming back.
They put them together.
Yeah, that's nice.
Just him and like a 14-year-old boy in the prison.
How it works, yep.
And, well, I mean, it's very clear that this is not like a real prison. But still, that's a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, like, even if it's not like, why would you put a kid with all of these people? Why would you put the two people that you brought in together?
Yeah, the whole point, I think, is to break their spirit. Yeah. So why give them a friend?
Now they can just be buddies.
Yeah.
But anyway, they do, and they're, I guess, cellmates. And Russell immediately wants to be friends.
Yeah.
He wants them to team up and take out the toughest guy here and do all of the prison stereotypes that you do to like survive in prison. And Deadpool is just sort of, he seems to be feeling like he's dead weight. Yeah. And he doesn't want to take Russell down.
He white fangs him a little bit, right?
He white fangs him, yeah. He's like, get out of here. That's not White Fang.
It's not?
Is it? It is. I was thinking Old Yeller, but that's not Old Yeller.
No, I don't think it's Old Yeller.
Anyway, yeah. He's like throwing rocks at him. But the kid... The
kid
is persistent.
Yeah, he is.
He's persistent.
Yeah.
But so you go through a few scenes of basically that dynamic repeating for a while there at lunch. What are we going to do? What's the plan? There's no plan. We're not friends. That whole kind of thing. And then we meet Black Tom.
Yes.
Because he's apparently the big dog on campus.
Right. And
to mix some metaphors.
The big dog on campus. That's from Teen Wolf 2, if I recall. Yeah.
And so he's there. Russell fixates on him as the guy that he needs to attack to become the big dog. And so does he go after him?
He picks a fight because he's smuggled in a pen and he's going to like use it as a shiv or something. But it ends up like Deadpool takes all the heat for it.
That's right. Deadpool, who, again, is not healing.
Yeah.
And is dying of cancer.
Right. Yep. So here is where we see Cable, like, fully appear in this timeline. Right. This is the rednecks and the toilet paper talk.
And like a classic, what year is this? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Kind of a moment.
Yep.
So which one's which?
Well, Matt Damon is the one in, like, the white tank top with the beer belly who does most of the talking.
Oh, my gosh. I need to see this scene again.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I'm sure you can find it. I'm sure it's readily available.
That's bananas.
I'm sure many people like you were like, wait, what?
Yeah. So anyway, that's just sort of the placing moment of like the time traveler is now here.
Yeah.
Basically. And he's going to figure out what his mission is. We don't know what he's after yet, but he's got his like computer thing happening and he seems to be going after Deadpool for some reason and we don't know why.
That's what it seems like, yes.
We don't know why, but you have like him looking at Deadpool and Russell on his little computer thing. So then we're back to the prison again in the cafeteria.
Yeah, we got another fight going on.
Cable breaks into the whole situation. And we're like, oh no, he's going to go after Deadpool. And Deadpool's like, who's this guy who's after me? And like is running away. Well, it turns out he's not after Deadpool. He's after Russell.
Yeah.
Why is he after Russell? Well, he's a time traveler, so maybe Russell grows up to be a bad guy.
Oh no.
So Deadpool isn't going to let this happen. It's like decided he's going to protect Russell.
Yeah, so we get a pretty brutal Cable Deadpool showdown here.
Yeah,
right
and like
middle.
early in the prison fight, it feels a little more like he's just taking his lumps from the guys and like
definitely.
Distracting them.
Yeah.
But with Cable, he fights.
He does.
You sort of see him like flip a little bit of a switch and like he's going to do his thing. Unfortunately, his thing usually involves a lot of him just getting contorted and stabbed and shot and stuff. And usually that's fine, but obviously now it's more of a problem, but he still does it and holds his own pretty well, but Cable's got his awesome gun and all his tech stuff and the jump on him, so he basically beats the crap out of him. I don't know how the scene ends.
Well, they fall out and Russell gets left behind. They like bust through a wall or something like that, and Russell's recaptured by the guards.
That's right.
And so Deadpool kind of struggles with
crucial moment during the fight when Russell isn't obviously there. Cable's asking why he's friends with this kid or whatever, and Deadpool's like, he's not my friend. I don't care about that kid or whatever. And Russell overhears it, and now feels betrayed.
You have to.
This is important for later.
It is.
So Deadpool and Cable are now out of the prison. I don't think we see how Deadpool gets away from there, but he does.
Yes.
And he goes off and he decides that he needs to rescue Russell. Like, he can't leave Russell in this prison, and especially with this lunatic who's after him for some reason. And so he decides that he needs to get a team together. He's talking to Weasel in the bar about, like, well, I can't let this stand, and who are we going to get together? Weasel, weirdly... Yes, this is the plan. We've done this before, I guess, and we're going to put together this group.
So they just kind of do auditions or like open.
Which is always fun.
It is fun.
That's always fun. Which I was a little surprised because I thought that there would be ones that they
didn't use.
Rejected.
I did too.
But they accepted every single person.
Yeah. I thought we were going to see, like whoever, Marrow, or like weird kind of deep cut X-Men, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So it's Bedlam, Zeitgeist, Vanisher, Shadowstar, and Shadowstar specifically said he's from Mojo World.
Mojo World.
Which is another reference there.
I was like, don't bring me Mojo Vision.
Oh, do you hate Mojo as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't mind cycling through your guest host, but don't ask me to do a Mojo episode.
We definitely can't, because it would just be us talking about how we hate Mojo Vision the entire time. We can't
that's an Eric episode, if ever I've heard one.
Yes.
So and then we have Domino and we have Peter. And Dopinder is very angry that Peter gets in.
It's so funny. Yeah. Because he's so obviously, he just like saw a poster and thought it sounded fun. And so he's just like the most derpy, he's just got the mustache. Regular guy.
Yeah, it's basically Ted Lasso.
It is like Ted Lasso, and they just like him, and they're like, great, sure, let's do it. And so this is X-Force.
X-Force is underway. Then we have Cable coming back and snatching Weasel.
That's right.
And he's kind of pumping him for information, and Weasel's like, I will tell you everything.
Yes.
It's a very funny scene. He keeps threatening torture, and he's like... You're going to be very sorry because there's a high wind, factor and everything. He keeps like twisting it at the end where he's just telling him exactly what he wants and giving him what he wants.
So meanwhile, while Weasel is being tortured, we have X-Force now in the air. They are all geared up. They're going to do
lot of talk about the high wind that day.
We hear a lot about the high wind. Yep. Specifically, I think it's Peter says, "Are we concerned at all about jumping during the high wind?" And Deadpool sets it aside. Ridiculous. We're not concerned about that. We're strong and victorious. And so they're going to jump out during the high wind.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of a speech from Deadpool about how he's always wanted a family, and now he has this family, and that he's decided that they should call themselves X-Force because X-Men is, what is it, misogynistic?
Yeah. And there's been a lot of good comedy for Vanisher. Like, half the time they don't know if he's there. They're like, oh, maybe he's late. Maybe he's not here. You just see his, he's like, looking good, Vanisher, and you just see the parachute. Domino has a great, when she's being interviewed at that thing, hilarious scene with her and Deadpool.
She's great.
She is. She nails it.
I love her in this.
She's perfect.
And she just has the exact right manner for somebody whose mutant power is luck.
Yeah.
She just is so confident and just whatever. Yeah. She's just going to do it because it's just going to turn out right.
Yeah. Well, they have that whole extended thing where he's like, luck's not really a superpower. And she's
but
like...
But it is, though.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
He's like, but the thing is, it's not. And it just keeps going. So great. So, yes, everybody is very pumped up and excited about being X-Force. Deadpool finally has his family, and we're opening up the back, and they're diving down to catch the convoy that's transferring Russell. Like, this is why they're doing this.
Yes, because he's moving to...
I don't know. They're just transferring to another facility. Maybe the New Mutants facility.
Maybe.
So
they jump out of the plane. It's all very action-y.
Yeah.
But the wind.
Yeah.
There's so much wind.
And it's fun because they're all in formation and the music's pumping, and then somebody gets pulled back by the wind, and they all start going in different directions,
flipping around and stuff. And this is the part where I stopped watching.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to tell the listeners what happens.
Well, basically, systematically, they're all dead.
Just one by one, they're gruesomely killed.
Yes.
And Deadpool watches them all.
Yeah, he lands. Oh, he gets stuck on a sign, and he lands, and he sort of sees it all happen. There's heavy machinery, there's electricity, there's Bedlam just right into a bus, and...
Isn't there a wood chipper?
There is a wood chipper. Yeah. I was not saying that because I thought you couldn't handle it.
No, I knew okay. There was definitely that, yes.
Yeah.
I was aware of the wood chipper.
Yes, so lots of things going on. The most noteworthy thing here, well, two. First, everybody dies except for Deadpool and Domino.
Except for, Domino.
And Vanisher comes down on wires, and as soon as he hits the wires, you see a flash of him for real. And it's 1 second, 2 seconds... And
yeah, it's very brief,
and
but
it's
it's
Brad
Pitt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Which is
very
so funny.
Yeah.
That's just a funny pull.
Yeah,
I like that.
it is. That's just the high level of star, you know, to get for that. Like, there's lots of people that would have been funny.
Yeah.
But Brad Pitt, like, it might as well have been Tom Hanks. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a funny call.
So finally they land. I mean, like, everybody's dead.
Yeah.
But Peter has survived.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
But he sees that the wood chipper guy is still alive.
Zeitgeist.
So he goes and he's going to help him.
Who shoots, like, toxic mucus.
Yes. Which, again,
Yeah.
presumably,
Yes.
that's how Peter then meets his demise.
That is what happens. Yep.
So, very sad. Domino is okay
She's
because
fine.
she's lucky.
Yep.
And
she's
so
fine.
now that we're down to 2. Just Domino and Deadpool are going to go and take care of the situation.
Yep.
So then they have to catch up with the convoy.
Yeah.
Because they were going to land on the convoy. And they didn't land on the convoy.
Right.
So they have to catch up. Domino insists that she can do this. And so she goes. Deadpool doesn't really expect her to catch it.
Yeah.
He, like, steals a car or something, and he's chasing after the thing. She just, like, gets into the convoy, like, immediately. Like, very quickly. She's in the convoy. She's taken down all of the people. She's in the driver's seat. She's taking care of business. And he's still chasing down the convoy.
Yeah.
Cable gets onto the convoy before Deadpool gets onto the convoy. He's going to kill Russell.
Right.
Russell is in his cell. All looks lost. Domino's shooting behind her while she's driving, trying to get... At one point, she just lets the convoy drive by itself.
Yeah.
She just lets luck take it.
Yeah.
And just goes back and is trying to fight Cable.
And meanwhile, Deadpool is, like... Well, for a while, he's upside down on a police car that was like the...
like looking between
like
his
was a support
legs
thing.
to drive.
Yeah, but he's... Yeah.
It's the whole thing.
And so he's trying to catch up to them and everything. And then eventually does. Cable, meanwhile, is pushing the little, like... Because each cell is an individual thing, and he's pushing them off the convoy. And, you know, lots of crazy things are happening. And then, yes, Russell does eventually use his pen to pick his lock and get out.
Deadpool gets onto the convoy finally by stopping Cable from shooting Domino.
Right. It all happens so fast it gets a little convoluted. He does call him One-Eyed Willie here, which is a Goonies reference, and Josh Brolin played the older brother on the Goonies. So that was
funny.
A specific, like,
Very
deep
cute.
cut. I liked that.
Okay. So eventually the convoy finally crashes.
Yeah.
And Juggernaut gets loose.
Yeah. Deadpool's very excited to see Juggernaut.
Yeah, he's a big Juggernaut fan.
He's a fan. He fangirls out for Juggernaut.
Yeah. But Juggernaut, do they have a big fight, or does he just...
He pretty much just rips him in half.
Yeah, he, like, literally rips him in half.
Yeah.
Juggernaut and Russell leave because they've made some arrangement and they're going to go off and do something. And Deadpool has... Domino wear him like a backpack.
Right.
I really feel like that happened before.
I don't know.
Somebody carried him like a backpack.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I will say, before we move past it, I think the convoy scene is really good. Like, all the action that happens, all the use of Domino's luck, you know? Like, there's a moment where the mirror is spinning and it hits Cable in the face and he misses. And, like, all of the choreography there, I mean, it's very cool.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of the big semi-truck chase in Terminator 3.
Oh, it would have to.
Rise of the Machines.
I think particularly the moment where she lets luck take it.
Yeah.
And then you just have the giant barreling
Yeah.
convoy, like, turning in this really dramatic
going
way.
through buildings and things.
Yeah,
it was just kind of a callback. Yeah. So we're back at Blind Al's house, and Deadpool is still growing back his legs.
Yes, so this is a little bit like a callback to when he had to grow his hand back in the first movie.
Right.
Now it's his legs, which I was wondering. I didn't know, because she didn't seem to pick up his legs. I would have thought that they would just put them together, but they left those behind and he had to grow completely new legs.
Yeah. So he's got tiny baby legs. A lot of fun is made from Deadpool's baby legs. Yes. Creeped out. Just
Very
kind of a joke
machine.
Legs. Yep.
And the whole group ends up back in
Al's apartment. Yeah.
And Deadpool is still determined that he's going to rescue Russell. And so they're just sort of touching base again. And like, what are we going to do now? Cable walks in.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight. We need to figure this out. They have a common enemy in Juggernaut.
Yeah. And this is where we get some backstory about Cable. This is where we actually find out that the grown-up Russell killed his family, and we see all that happen, and we see how the teddy bear gets charred and everything, which sounds like an expression, but it's not.
Oh, the teddy bear gets charred.
Yeah. And so we find out all about that, and Deadpool's point is basically like, well, if we can stop him before he kills the Essex guy, maybe we can still turn him back.
Yeah.
Because Cable is saying that was the turning point,
Yeah,
and
he,
everything
gets a
after
taste
that.
for killing, and he's just gonna.
And so Deadpool's
which you can
like,
see
definitely.
from how Russell acts. I mean, he definitely has. I mean, he's got anger issues. He's got control issues.
Yeah.
Like over his life, you know, and like it definitely makes sense that he could head in that direction, even though he's also portrayed as very sympathetic. He's a kid who's, you know.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting. It's like you're coming in at exactly the turning point.
Yeah, it's the linchpin
life,
moment.
which is also interesting because they ask why he didn't just go back and kill him as a baby, and Cable says that the further back he goes, the less control he has over where he lands, and so I thought that was one of the better explanations.
Yeah, for why
for a time travel thing like that. That like,
I think
why you don't have exactly what you want.
Yes. And I mean, I love a good time travel story. You know, like any kind of time travel stories I like. And I did appreciate that they gave us just enough of how it works and what it is. Like, it was just the right amount. It wasn't just like, well, I time traveled, but it also wasn't like, you see, when you do, you know.
Well, that's the balancing
spot.
act that you have to do, because if you explain it too much, we all know that time travel isn't possible, at least like with current, you know, whatever. And so like the more you try to explain it, the more apparent it becomes to the viewer that this is nonsense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you want to have just the right amount of explanation. And I think they do a pretty good job with that. But then all of that credit comes to a screeching halt because he only has enough charge for one more jump.
Yeah, just to get himself home.
Now we have contrived. But again, this is a Deadpool movie, so it's okay. We accept it. It's fine. But that's what we learn. He only has a charge for one more thing.
Yes.
He wants to team up with these guys because Juggernaut is too big for both of them. So they need to team up.
And Cable basically agrees to give him kind of a 30-second head start with Russell.
Yes.
Like, if he can't turn the tides in that time, then Cable will take him out.
Yes. Because from Cable's perspective, time is of the essence. Like, this kid is too powerful. Like, you can't just let him grow, like, whatever. Like, there's no time. He has to take the chance he has. So, that's the plan. They decide, you know, yeah, sure, we're a team.
And the first step is back to the X-Mansion to get some backup in the form of Colossus.
Yes,
and
which is a good call,
yeah.
because you need a Colossus if you're going to go up against Juggernaut. Even when they're teaming up, it's like, that's not going to cut it.
So then it all kind of comes to head here, where all the heroes and villains gather together, and there is sort of a Colossus Juggernaut, like, I'm calling you out moment. And I was curious watching this. Was that cool for you? Like,
it was.
Okay.
It really was. And like, I like Colossus. I think Juggernaut's fine. So it's not like they're my favorite characters, but it was very cool to see the two like of the bigger heavies just going at it, and it was fun. It was sort of similar. It reminded me to when in New Mutants, Illyana goes after that bear.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's just sort of like keeping the bear occupied so that the viewer can watch what's happening with the other kids for a little while. It's a similar thing here.
Yeah.
Where Colossus is now going to keep Juggernaut occupied so that the drama can happen over on the side. So they're fighting.
And Deadpool's like, oh, here comes a big CGI fight.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was cool.
It was cool.
It was a cool fight.
It was a good fight. Speaking of Juggernaut, he has kind of a throwaway line in the earlier scene where he and Russell are walking away. He says something about he's got to wear the helmet because his brother's always trying to read his mind or something like that.
It's Russell. It's Russell sort of repeating what he had been told.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was cool because when we've seen Juggernaut before, there has not been discussion of how he's Xavier's brother.
No.
At all. I mean, there hasn't really been any discussion of his character.
No.
But, you know.
He was there to say a meme line in The Last Stand, and that was basically it.
But yeah, so that was a nice little bit there.
Yeah.
But the thing that is happening is that Russell wants to kill the guy who runs
the Essex
that facility,
home, whatever it is. Yeah.
And he wants Juggernaut to help him, and in exchange, Juggernaut, I don't even know, like just because he freed him, I
guess so. Yeah, I think they're just kind of like friends.
Yeah. So Juggernaut's going to help him kill the guy.
Yeah.
And that's just the plan.
Yep.
And so Cable wants to get rid of Juggernaut so he can kill Russell. Deadpool wants to stop Russell from killing the guy because that'll turn him bad.
Right.
Basically.
And this is where they're arguing over, like, how to proceed. This is where Deadpool says, "Zip it, Thanos."
Yeah.
Which is,
That's very good.
You have to. You have to.
Yeah, that was a good one. So then Russell is chasing the guy through the house and trying to get him to say this phrase that the headmaster or whatever used to say. What was it? It was like, "Blessed are those who suffer at my hands."
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
So it's got kind of like a faux religious element to it.
Definitely faux, yeah.
But do we get the name of that guy? Because he has sort of a Creed feel to him.
Yeah,
but I don't think he is.
I don't think it's ever really established. I don't think he's a set character. Have we already passed when Juggernaut's taken out? Because I didn't really like.
I also didn't like that.
It kind of happened. This is all sort of happening at once, and you're seeing flashes of it everywhere. But basically, Domino and Negasonic and the others are kind of like converging on Juggernaut, and they end up pulling down his pants. And
well, it's Colossus who does it.
Yeah,
pulls down his pants and puts a electric
live wire like in his
butt.
Yeah, the end. It's just a weird.
Well, I mean, it's the kind of thing that a Deadpool movie does, but I guess it does feel a little bit like, at this point in this movie, it's sort of risen above that a little bit, and so it feels a little out of place.
Well, yes, because it kind of undercuts the threat of Juggernaut in a way that I don't think is really beneficial to the story or the jokes.
Yeah.
To have him just be like, "We electrocuted his butt."
Yeah.
Just, it feels like, okay.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, like Act 1, okay. But at this point, it does seem a little like, are we laughing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
But anyway, so that happens. Juggernaut is out of the fight. Meanwhile, Deadpool is trying to get through to Russell. So Russell has cornered the guy. Deadpool stops him from killing him. The guy runs away.
He's kind of out of the clear and present danger at the moment, yeah.
But Russell is insisting. Now it comes back, this whole, like, "You're not really my friend. I heard you say that you don't care about me. I've decided that I'm going down this path." Forget all of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, Deadpool, I mean, we have another kind of a touching scene where he's like, "No, I'm really sorry. This is not, like, I should have never left you there. Like, I'll be here for you. Like, we'll have each other." And Deadpool collars up. He puts on the takes his power, and he's like, "Look, man, it's just me. I'm not trying anything."
He says, if you're going to shoot somebody, it's going to have to be me. And now it's going to kill me.
Right.
So, do it.
Yeah, and so it's going on. Like, clearly he's going to kill this guy. And Cable takes his shot.
Yes.
And Deadpool dives in the way of it without powers.
Right.
And takes it right in the heart and is going down fast. And has the world's longest, like, death scene. The guy just...
Also reminiscent of Jim Carrey in The Mask.
Yes, it is. I know, I thought the same thing. The Essex guy gets away, and again, I felt like that was kind of like, we're tucking him away for another...
Yeah.
Whenever we're going to pick up, like, Sinister or whatever, I feel like that character...
It could be. I knew that actor from something.
Yeah, I recognized him too.
I wasn't sure who he was.
So basically, they can't just take the collar off, or it'll blow up.
No. I mean, yeah, but Russell figures out how to get it off, and Deadpool tells him not to because he wants to die, I guess. Like, he's been trying to kill himself, and now he has this opportunity. So a little bit that kind of undercuts the drama of the moment.
Oh, definitely,
because it's like, there's not really any meaning to it because you're basically just killing yourself.
Right.
Because we all know that if you took the collar off, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
But that happens.
Yeah, well, it also, like, his whole thing with Russell was like, "I'll be there for you," or whatever. And he's just
that's
like,
true. But no, I'm just gonna die.
Yeah.
But everyone's very sad.
Yeah.
He keeps, like, seeming to be dead.
Yeah, and they'd be like,
start to walk away.
It's so hard to go.
He wakes up again. It's like a funny little thing. But then he dies. But then we've got Cable, who decides...
Yeah, I don't like this.
You don't like this?
I don't, because there's no... Like, just make it so that he has to die. You know what I mean? I don't think you can do both.
Yeah.
Where he foolishly, like, lets himself die, and then Cable has to, like, give up his family, you know, to go back and save him. It just... I don't think that really, like, the logic of that doesn't work, and I don't think it's funny. So, you know, I just think that's kind of a weak moment.
But what happens is Cable decides that he can't allow this, and so he goes back in time and I guess gives, like, puts the lead
Puts the
coin.
token. It's the token that was the gift with Vanessa early
Yeah,
on.
somehow precariously balances it exactly where
Yeah.
the bullet is going to be.
Yes.
Which is very impressive.
But also maybe just like don't shoot.
Right? That's what I was thinking. And like, how does
I don't-
time travel work? Like, are they
Does
both
he replace
there?
the cable that's there? I
It was
don't
unclear.
know.
But
That's
anyway,
where it
the
gets a little
point
wonky.
is, he makes it so that Deadpool does not die.
Yeah.
We get another scene, like, just before this, where Deadpool is in that filmy place with
Yeah.
Vanessa. He breaks through the barrier and is nice-looking Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds.
You could say sexy Ryan Reynolds. It's all right.
It's fine. And they are finally going to be together. They're very happy. And
Yeah.
then Vanessa realizes,
Oh.
oh, it's not your time.
Not your time yet, bro.
And I think they have a pretty nice scene. It's less distressing than I think it could have been that he doesn't get to stay.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of the time you have that kind of thing and you feel like, why does he have to go back? Like,
Yeah.
he's finally happy.
Yeah.
But it felt pretty...
Well, they do. I mean, he does get. They kiss and they hug and like
Yeah.
they have a real. It's not like they're at arm's
And
length.
she says, like, there's a time for us. Like, this
Yeah.
will be together. Like,
Yeah.
we feel confident that eventually
Yeah.
they'll be fine. But then he goes back because the people need him. And then he's alive again.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cable didn't kill him.
And Cable says that they're like, well, what about your family? And he's like, well, I'm going to stick around here for a while and make sure the future is locked up. So
Yeah.
that was another thing where I was like, well, maybe they were planning
Yeah, I
to
think
use
they
Cable
definitely
some
were.
more, you know,
I
at
think they
that
definitely
point.
were. But the teddy bear that
Yeah.
he had, this is the
The
Back to
charred,
Future
the
moment,
charred teddy bear.
'cause
Yeah.
all of the,
Da-da-da-da.
if you watch it fade, like the char goes away.
Yeah.
It's just a nice thing. And he says that
Basically, his
in the
family is
original
safe.
timeline, Ryan Reynolds asks him about the teddy bear, and he's like, it's my dead daughter's teddy bear. This time around, it's not like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he says, it's my daughter's teddy bear.
Right.
And so you sort of also get that impression that, like, it's just different. Which is another, like, who is this Cable? Is
Yeah.
he the same Cable? Is he a different Cable?
I don't know.
But anyway.
I don't
we
know
won't-
at that
We
point.
won't think about it too much.
So in the post-credits scene, we have Deadpool going to the X Mansion, and we see Negasonic Teenage Warhead is fixing the little time travel device.
Yes.
And juicing it up so that he can travel through time. And so we get a big montage to If I Could Turn Back Time by
Yep.
Cher, where do we see Vanessa first?
I think maybe last.
Last. Okay.
I'm not
So
sure.
he's setting a lot of things right. So
Yeah.
we see, like, he takes out the Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine,
Mm-hmm.
and we see some Hugh Jackman there, and there's some, like, raw footage that's in there, so it is some, like, new-ish Wolverine
Mm-hmm.
footage. We see him take out a young Ryan Reynolds before he can film Green Lantern,
Uh-huh.
which is, lots of jokes about that. And ultimately, we see him save Vanessa this time.
Yes.
And they're together again, which is a pretty big change for a post-credit scene, I guess.
Yeah. Like,
'Cause
they
I
have
remember-
to really assume people will be watching.
And I remember at the time, like, afterwards, there were, articles and stuff, and the creators or whatever were like, yes, Vanessa really is alive now. Like, she will be alive
Yeah,
going forward.
there is always sort of a little bit of a feel that they might be non-canonical.
Yeah,
those-
it's
those
true.
post-credit
Well, the first one
scenes.
was a extended Ferris Bueller spoof
Yeah.
in Deadpool 1, where he says, we're bringing Cable,
Yeah. But yeah,
So-
she's back.
And then
So
we
that
go
was nice.
then we go from there, and that's Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
It's been continued to be like rumors, and it seems like it's more and more realistic that a Deadpool 3 is going to happen under the Marvel banner now.
Yeah.
And recently, as at the time of recording anyway, Ryan Reynolds had tweeted a picture of the Deadpool mask, like, in a bag, like him walking it. And there's kind of like an indication
Yeah.
that, like, something's going on. As of now, nothing's been official, but I think people are feeling pretty good that, like, a Deadpool 3 is going to happen.
I guess if anything is going to happen, it's going to be a Deadpool 3 because
Yeah.
like everybody is on board with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it makes insane amounts of money.
Right.
Ryan Reynolds would do it today. Like,
Yeah.
anything he'll
Probably
do.
at scale.
Yeah. So I feel pretty confident.
Yeah,
that
I
there'll
do
be
too.
another one.
Well, okay, so you both were pretty negative on the first movie.
Yes.
Do you feel?
I liked this one.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
liked it. I thought it was good. I mean, I
Did-
thought the emotional stuff touched on Schmaltzy a
Yeah.
couple times, but I think for the most part they sold it pretty well.
Well, and the balance was better because in the first one, a lot of your criticisms before was that, like, it was more of a romance than anything else.
Yeah.
Like, the jokes didn't always land, and you had that bit in the center where he's at that, like, complex that's just, it stops being funny for, like, 40 minutes, you know, right in the center. I feel like this one was a lot more consistent, and I laughed a lot more than I laughed in the first one. I just think it's funnier and a better movie all around.
It's more cohesive, yeah.
Did this make you, like, retroactively... Like, are you more forgiving of Deadpool 1 now, or you still think probably not?
I think the only thing I think about it is that the characters are familiar now. I was glad to see them again.
Okay.
Deadpool's a known quantity.
Yeah.
Like, yay, he's happy with Vanessa. That was nice to see. And, like, Negasonic Teenage Warhead was fun to see again. So, like, I guess I would say seeing them made me glad to see them. So that must mean that there was some benefit to the
warmth.
first movie.
Yeah, all right.
So I guess...
I feel like we didn't talk nearly as much about Domino as
That's
I would have
true.
thought, because she's great. I mean,
She's
I
really
love
great.
her.
You're right. We didn't really talk much about her in the plot.
Yeah.
She's very good. She's very good. She adds a lot. She plays against Deadpool really well in sort of a similar way to Negasonic Teenage Warhead, but with a little bit more credibility, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, like, with Negasonic Teenage Warhead, it was always like she's just a sullen teenager.
Yeah.
And this is almost like a peer
Yeah.
for him. And, like, she doesn't joke like he does, but she's not stoic or anything.
Well, she's not left behind in his jokes either.
Right, exactly.
You know,
she
can match him.
She meets him in a really good way.
So let me ask you a loaded question here, because this was a point of contention in the last one where the roles of women and how they were portrayed in the film
that's
was
right.
very problematic the first time around.
Yeah.
And you guys got into that a little bit. I'm wondering, do you think that they made improvements on that in this one?
Well, it didn't stick out to me, so I guess I'd have to say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem in the first movie was that all of the women were just tools.
Right.
This one, Domino was very... I mean, she was a character. She was just an actual character in a way that a lot of the ones weren't in the movie. I don't remember her being particularly objectified or used in any, exploitative kinds of ways. So I think maybe they learned their lessons.
I think especially with Vanessa, because she was very sexualized in the first one. In this one, she wasn't particularly.
Yeah.
She still doesn't really have anything going for her outside of being
Ryan's
Deadpool's girlfriend. But, like, she does have a little bit more, stuff going on. It's all very, like, she's going to be a mother and all that stuff. But I don't know, just curious if you thought that, like, overall the representation was more positive.
I sort of forgot how bad that was in the first movie until you just brought it
I
up.
just listened to the episode, so I didn't forget.
Oh, God, everything. Well, do you remember when... Even the tough character.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't have to retread.
Right.
But anyway, I guess...
But you're saying improvement for this one.
At the very least, it has to be improvement because it did not stick out for me. I mean, like, I'll watch it again and be like, oh, how could I have said that? Because this happened and this happened and this happened. But as it stands right now, I feel pretty good about that.
Okay. Well, that's nice. If 5 years from now it was like, hey, let's watch through all the X-Men movies, would you watch the Deadpool movies?
Listen, I still don't see them as X-Men movies.
Okay.
Like, even this one, it had all of them in it, in that little cameo and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's clearly connected to the universe, but I just don't see them as the same.
So you would watch the Wolverine trilogy and the
Yes.
originals and the sequels.
Yes.
But you think you'd probably skip the Deadpool.
I think I would.
Okay.
I mean, like, I don't think that I would never watch the Deadpool movies again, but I don't...
But you don't see it as...
I don't see them as integral to, like, a rewatch.
Yeah.
Of the X-Men movies. What do you think?
Well, I probably would. Well,
you're
would.
a completist,
No,
so I guess
am.
I don't even know why I asked that question.
But I think particularly with this second one, I think you do get a decent amount of, like, X-Men content.
You do.
You know?
I don't know. It's a feeling more than anything. Like,
well,
I think that's 100% a subjective thing.
Well, they're hardly the same genre. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I think it's a
very
genre. I think it is a
to,
genre thing more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if you're watching all of the movies from the Star Wars franchise, do you watch the Ewok movies?
Mm-hmm.
Like that feels like on a similar...
Is that a dig at This Endorian Life? Is that what's happening right now?
I'm just saying.
Can I just tell you?
It's a different genre.
It is a different genre. I was watching Caravan of Courage because that's what our next episode is going to be
That's
about.
the Ewok movie?
The first Ewok movie.
There are Ewok movies.
There
everybody.
are Ewok movies, yes. And I loved those as a child. This movie's so boring.
Oh, really?
Caravan of Courage is very boring.
Not
so
courageous?
No, not yet. Not yet. So we'll see as I get through it. And folks, feel free to find us over at Endorian Life on Twitter or This Endorian Life.
Yeah, you're giving them a spoiler.
Anywhere you get your podcast, because we're going to be talking about that next. Return of the Jedi is out now, where we just talk about the Ewoks. But yeah, it is a similar vibe. Like, do you include those in? I would say maybe a more accurate would be like, do you want to watch like Rogue One and Solo?
No,
you think it's
not
Ewoks?
The same.
You think
I think it's Ewoks because it's a genre thing.
All right,
like Rogue One and Solo are still in the same vein.
Yeah,
you know, like they're not the main movies, and they are different, obviously, but they're not like juggling and
all right
being
well.
Crazy.
I accept your judgment.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's our take on Deadpool 2.
I liked it.
I liked it too.
All right.
I hope that our listeners did as well.
Yeah.
I imagine they did because apparently everybody loves these movies.
Everyone did.
So next... Oh, you moved it. So next week we are going to... Or next... What month?
You just say the next episode.
So in the next episode, we'll be talking about a standalone comic from the X-Men. We have several options that we're looking at. We're going to have a poll over on Twitter if you guys want to pop on over there and pick which ones are your favorite, and we'll discuss one of those next time.
All right.
So thanks for doing this with me, Nick.
Anytime.
I'm having fun having you on the podcast now and then.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, as long as you can pay my day rate, I'm here.
We're not doing that.
Really? I'm going to have to check with the accountant on that.
The accountant.
The Radio Meanwhile accountant, yes, obviously.
Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song.
It slaps.
It does. I think it literally does. It's a lot of bass. You can find more about this show and others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com. You can follow us on Twitter and answer that poll at Previously on X. And please rate, subscribe, or share this show wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Ba-na-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na.